Let's now make the transition to the offense, but factoring the USC defense's situation into the equation with USC's secondary being banged up and limited as it is. Do you think that, in terms of Lincoln Riley's mindset as a game planner and a play caller, that we're going to see Lincoln Riley lean that much more into the run game to use clock, keep the ball, limit Michigan State's possessions? Like, do you think that Lincoln Riley's approach to Saturday's game is being altered or will be altered by the injury report and the infirmary in the secondary? Or do you think that, this is Lincoln Riley and USC is USC and we're just going to do what we do? And he's going to call a normal Lincoln Riley game. Do you think that the run-pass mix is affected by the situation in the secondary? Crash first on this one, then Ethan.
I think Lincoln Riley's probably going to, plan the game probably similar to how he does. Obviously, there'll be a few adjustments in the lineup for sure, but I think as a play caller, I think he's probably going to call the offense similar to how he's been calling it. And I mean, obviously, I have been more impressed with his play calling, especially him, using the run game more throughout the game. But I'm also not going to be surprised if he calls it similar and is having Jade Mayava throw a lot of really try to target Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane because of just their potential with once, especially not only when their ability to catch the ball, but also how they run with the ball and can just get really just charge down the field and pick up tons of yardage on a single play. So I think Lincoln Riley's probably going to call the game similar to how he does, but I hope he doesn't we don't see the Lincoln Riley of last year who gets discouraged when he sees a few mistakes by his run game, whether they struggle to rush the ball down the field or in the case of or have a fumble like Wayman Jordan did a couple weeks ago, although I will praise him for sticking with Jordan even after that fumble.
I think I kind of agree with Crash's point that I see the play calling staying the same. I just don't think that Michigan State's defense has performed particularly well to this point. I mean, giving up 40 points to Boston College, which just got, decently shut down by Stanford, not really a defense that inspires confidence in me. So, and they're not great at creating turnovers. I think they've created 3 this whole season so far. So that's like 1 per game. Not super great at getting to the quarterback. They only have 6 sacks on the year. And you would think that they would feast on some of those lesser teams. So just not a defense I'm very confident in. So I just think that, Lincoln Riley's going to approach it like he has the last few weeks, which is just that, we're going to do what we need to do to get down the field. And this offense, has rarely punted and rarely been held to field goals. So I just think that they're going to approach it like they're, the same juggernaut they've been the last few weeks and put points on the board. And whatever way that they can best do that, they're going to do that.
All right. What thing do you want to see the most from the USC offense against Michigan State? Crash first, Ethan second.
I really want to see USC continue to just have these balanced attacks that are just relying on both the run game and the pass game. I definitely want to see, Lincoln Riley, like we talked about on Sunday, if, Eli Sanders is the running back, despite being more the RB2 in this lineup on the depth chart, having the better game, I'd like to see him get more of the carries compared to Wayman Jordan. That's not to say I don't think you should, spread it out and, definitely take advantage of it. And hell, even, throw in King Miller, who's as a walk-on has been doing really well, doing really well. And then also obviously Brian Jackson, another capable running back in that room. But I do also want to see, USC, be able to, throw to Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane and really just, have those guys getting their targets and their catches too. And really just having to make Michigan State's defense, defend the whole field and not know what's going to come next.
I think I want to see them play mistake-free football. I want to see them play confident football. I want to see them play disciplined football. I want to see the offensive line dominate again to where it doesn't matter what we're running. Mayava's confident in the pocket. The runners are getting, a decent yards per carry ratio. I want to see Mayava's confidence remain high, and just everyone's confidence remain high, and just, them to turn it loose and just be confident in their ability to score in a bunch of different ways, and getting a lot of people involved kind of like the first few weeks, and getting it to the tight ends, getting it to the receivers, getting multiple running backs in there, just operating like a well-oiled machine, not leaning too hard on anybody, kind of like Crash said, and just going out and putting up a big total.
I'll tell you what I want to see from this offense. I'm mostly asking questions, but obviously I'm going to get my opinion in where I think I need to. I want to see this offensive line dump truck Michigan State in the red zone. That was one of the issues against Purdue, not finishing drives. USC was moving the ball up and down the field the whole game, didn't punt. Pretty easy to move the ball, but then drives would bog down inside the Purdue 30, inside the Purdue 20, inside the 10. This offensive line needs to not just mash generally, it needs to mash when everyone knows that a run is coming in short space in the end zone. Neither of you remember the 2005 Fresno State game. I'm dating myself here, like I'm the old man in the crowd. But in watching that game on Prime Ticket, I believe it was. I think that was before Fox Sports 1. I think it was Prime Ticket. Petros Papadakis was on the call, and USC had the ball, third and goal at the Fresno State 1-yard line. And Petros Papadakis said, and I remember this 20 years later, so it obviously stuck with me. He talked about a chest-puffing rooster show. You have to strut around and you have to show that you can be the man, you can be the dude. So none of this finesse crap on 3rd and 1. You might score, Matt Leinart bootleg, maybe a little soft toss to the tight end. No, you need to score by ramming it in. You need to pile drive that ball in the end zone. It sends a bigger message. It has a bigger effect. And I think, we know how important the offensive line is to this team. Many people think, I'm one of them, it's the hinge point for the whole operation, because if the offensive line dominates, takes so much pressure off the defense, takes pressure off the secondary, it increases the margin for error for the defense. And last year, the offensive line, was inconsistent generally, but particularly it could not ram that ball through in short yardage situations in the red zone, particularly the game at Washington. Lincoln Riley did try to run the ball inside the 10 at Washington. Up in Seattle, O-line couldn't get it done. So coming off the Purdue game, in which this offensive line generally was very good, the main flaw, not being able to be skull crushers inside the 10, inside the 20, that's what I need to see from this offense in particular. This offensive line just becoming dudes when the opponent is expecting a run. It's a lot like baseball. Dodgers coming up on the playoffs here. You're getting the 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Joan Duran, and you can still be on top of it, and you mash it into the Dodger Stadium pavilion. That's when you're ready to win and compete at an elite level. So the opponent knows it's coming, and you're able to do it anyway. That is really what creates a champion, what creates a top-tier team. That's what I want to see from the USC